What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam. Hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight, man. Hope you guys have all had a great start to your weekend. I hope you guys are ready for another live 2023 fantasy football mock draft with you guys, with the Catch fam, of course. Like I said, hope your Saturday is going fantastic. Hope you guys are ready to have some fun, talk some fantasy football tonight. We're going to hop into a 12-team full PPR mock draft tonight. I am at the 1.1 after randomizing the order. Here are your roster settings: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex. Switching it up tonight. We usually run with 2 flex spots. Kicker and defense. It's the end of July, so if you guys have been asking for it, we're going to throw it in there. We've been doing a ton of mocks without the kicker and defense spots, so we're putting them in there tonight. And 5 bench spots. So, super excited to draft with you guys as always. You guys know what to do, man. Hit that like button on the way in so YouTube likes me more. If you guys are new to the channel, thank you so much for being here. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on the way in. That way you can hear me talk about fantasy football and join our mock drafts and all that good stuff. But most importantly, hop in the live chat, guys. Let me know what's popping. Let me know how you guys are doing. Any fantasy football topics you guys want to go over, redraft, dynasty, or best ball, whatever it may be, any NFL topics, throw them in the live chat. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk some fantasy football tonight. So, we are kicking off like any second here. 11 p.m. Eastern time was the start time. So, I'm going to go ahead and put the final warning on on Discord. Mock is starting, and then we're gonna hop right into this thing. And I'm at the 1.1. Let's do it. Draft is underway. Oh, we didn't get this. I thought the sleeper noises were gonna go off. They didn't go off. All right. I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna go Justin Jefferson here. You know, could go Chase there, I guess. You really want to go running back, you could argue for C-Mac, Bijan, or Eckler. But I think in like 99% of leagues this year, especially full PPR formats, we're going to see JJ off the clock there. So no big surprise. JJ, Chase, C-Mac, your first 3 picks off the board tonight. All right, let's see who's in the live chat. Cats, what's going on, man? Hello, hello. Hope you're doing fantastic. Do ESPN next time. Usually for the live streams we roll with Sleeper, but I am going to start taking mock draft requests, and whatever format it is, super flex, 10 teams, half PPR, and whatever platform, Yahoo, ESPN, Sleeper, whatever it may be, and I'll start to get those incorporated into my daily uploads. Last August I did a mock draft essentially every day, like at least 5 days a week for an upload, and then live streamed community mock draft as well. So going to try and do the same thing this August, and we'll get some ESPN mixed in there as well. Taylor, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Brian, what's up? What's up? Thomas, JSC, how's everyone doing tonight? Good to see you guys. Chase Brown's in the house. What's up, man? Thomas, 1.7 is gross. Sometimes I like being right there in the middle. Sometimes you get some good value fall into you throughout the draft. A says Hill too early. I mean, I don't mind Hill in full PPR at 1.4. This was your wide receiver 2 last year in full PPR scoring, wide receiver 3 in standard scoring. So I don't mind him right there. I mean, I prefer Bijan, but if Hill's your guy over Kupp, I think that's okay. I don't have a problem with it personally. Thomas, I almost feel forced to take Kelsey at 1.7. Yeah, I like Eckler there as well if you want to go running back, but Kelsey's perfectly fine at the 1.7 for sure. JSC, you could argue that Cooper Kupp should be the 1.1. He averaged the most fantasy points weekly from a non-quarterback perspective. Yeah, I don't really have a problem with Kupp that early as well. I think just, it's not that, like, I don't think the Rams are going to be actually awful this year by any means. I think their defense is going to struggle pretty heavily, but we know they're going to throw the ball. Matthew Stafford's expected to be healthy, so like Kupp should be healthy too. So I don't really have a problem with that take. I think I just prefer the Vikings and Bagels offense over the Rams still at this point. But I think the point you're making is completely fair. When we look at the pace that Cooper Kupp was on last year, I mean, it was as good as, like, essentially anything he's done. I mean, don't get me wrong, the year before was absolutely massive, but just for reference, hold on, let me get this pulled up. And let me try and not miss these next two picks. So, yeah, he averaged 14.4 fantasy points last year. And if I'm not mistaken, I think every game he's played with Matthew Stafford, he has had double-digit fantasy points. And don't quote me, but I think that's correct. So, yeah, I can't really knock Kupp in that spot. Asher says top 4 wide receivers should be the top 4 picks. I don't have a problem with that either, but it just kind of depends, if you want to start your draft with a running back or wide receiver, which just kind of depends on what, how your roster construction is going to go. This is a weird spot to draft from. I was hoping Devonta Smith would fall out here. Could go quarterback. I've got my choice of quarterback here. Yeah, I mean, I'll go with Higgins. And then the next choice is kind of tough. Like, I'm not going to see great running back value at 4.12 or 5.1. But I could kind of ignore running back here. I don't think I'm going to. I'll go Breece Hall. Go Jets. Yeah, some Jets hype today. We had, like, clips of Rodgers throwing to Wilson. That's exciting. Some of the news, I don't know how much I want to call this news, but some of the events that we haven't got to discuss live on stream. The Baltimore Ravens signed Melvin Gordon to a 1-year deal. The Giants signed Cole Beasley. And the Giants signed James Robinson. So, the Melvin Gordon situation doesn't really concern me. Like, if you own J.K. Dobbins in Dynasty, if you've been targeting J.K. Dobbins, it's just a depth move. And we know that the Ravens, carry depth at the running back position year to year. When you look at what Gordon basically is, look at his time with the Chiefs last year. Just really, non-existent. So, I don't think anyone out there is really too worried about Melvin Gordon. But if you were, I would not panic at all. Now, Cole Beasley to the Giants is the most interesting to me out of these three, because that wide receiver room, we've talked about it a lot this offseason. It is so completely stacked. I don't want to say stacked, but it's a crowded wide receiver room. Okay, now you add Cole Beasley into the mix, and it just makes things more confusing. They're going to have to cut someone. You got Jalen Hyatt, Paris Campbell, Jamison Crowder, Isaiah Hodgins, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Randall Robinson. And from an offensive perspective, you still have Darren Waller there, Daniel Bellinger there, and then probably at some point in the season, Saquon Barkley catching passes out of the backfield as well, hopefully. So, Brian Daboll, obviously the head coach of the Giants, was Cole Beasley's offensive coordinator for a time in Buffalo. So, he might want to use them. I don't know. It's just I don't want any more wide receivers on this Giants team. You guys know, I've been okay with taking Isaiah Hodgins late. If you want to upside play, take a swing on Jalen Hyatt. Best ball, I don't have a problem drafting really any of those Giants wide receivers because their ADP is so low. Just take a chance late if you need a wide receiver. I don't know what to make of this Giants wide receivers room anymore. But Cole Beasley's there now. Am I worried about James Robinson with the Giants? No. But I do like James Robinson. I don't want to discredit him too much. He was actually last season at a point productive before ETN came on. Weeks 1 through 3, James Robinson looked pretty good. And he actually had a good game in Week 9 against Buffalo as well. So 425 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns, 11 receptions for 51 receiving yards last year in 11 games. I mean, there's a lot of bad mixed in there too. And then obviously the injury. And then he has bounced around a couple teams since. So obviously with the Saquon Barkley situation playing out, this at least provides a running back depth through training camp. I don't quite know if James Robinson is going to make the team. I don't know if Matt Breida is going to make the team now, and James Robinson does. Something to monitor, if Saquon is not going to be out there the first couple weeks or week 1, then we might be talking about picking up James Robinson. I don't know. But we don't want to overreact. End of July, there's a lot of time for a lot of things to happen. But it's something to keep on our radar, I guess. You got Eric Gray there as well, of course, rookie. But we'll see how it plays out. But I think ultimately this is a depth move for training camp. That could turn into a player who makes the team in James Robinson or a player who does not make the team. So we'll see what happens. If you own Saquon Barkley, am I worried? No. Running backs behind Barkley are nothing to be worried about. The situation around his contract is what we're worried about, right? Okay, also there's been, players here and there being put on the PUP list. You got Rashad Bateman on the reserve, did not report list. He got like a cortisol shot or something like that in his foot. All I have to say is I would not worry, if it's Isaiah Pacheco, Breece Hall. We kind of mentioned this earlier stream this week. Don't worry about the PUP list right now. Similar to what we were just talking about, there's a lot of time for a lot of things to happen. Pacheco had offseason surgery. Obviously, Breece Hall had a major injury last year, so we expected these players to potentially not be ready to go for the first week of training camp. So don't panic too much about injury updates at the end of July is my message tonight. Okay. All right, almost back on the clock here. Once again, it's a tough pick here because quite frequently there's just a lot of players I like right here. And then I don't pick again until 6.12. There goes Kirk. I'll probably go... I like Watson right there. It's a good pick. Let's go Ayuk. And then it's do I go running back or quarterback here? It's tough. I just don't know what running backs will make it back to me. And I've been drafted for upside lately, so give me DeAndre Swift. Why not? Take a little bit of risk. I don't know what quarterback's going to make it back to me, though. We shall see. All right, let me get caught up with the chat here. A says, I'm taking Henry and Diggs over Lamb. I have Lamb above both those guys. But I always say, go out and get your guys. Follow your conviction. Andrea, what's going on? Good to see you. Why Saquon so late? It's purely just based around the contract situation. It's the same thing with Josh Jacobs going to 3.5. They're going to stay at a pushback ADP until their contract situations, resolve it themselves. So that's all it is. Before both of them did not get signed to a long-term deal and basically announced they're going to hold out. You had Saquon either end of the first or very beginning of the second. And you had Jacobs, it's Jacobs a little bit more vocal about potentially holding out. So he was more end of the second, beginning of the third. So he hasn't moved back too much. But I just think for the purpose of mock drafting right now, people are pushing them back on their boards. I will say, if you guys are drafting best ball teams right now, I take the discount on both those guys. I really would, because especially Saquon, I just don't see him, if he misses games, I don't see it being more than 4 to 6 weeks. That's a worst case scenario. Josh Jacobs, I have no idea really. Like I said, he's been much more vocal about his holdout situation. I would take the discount into best ball right now is all I'm going to say. It's early in the offseason when Austin Eckler was going sometimes the mid-second round because of the contract negotiation and everything. It's begging you guys, go get Austin Eckler at this discount while it lasts. And now, Eckler's back to a mid-first rounder. So just keep it in mind if you're drafting best ball out there. Albert, what's going on, man? JSC, should I buy a Bijan Robinson jersey? If you want one, man. I do like the Falcons jerseys. They're nice. Matt, what's going on? Or what's going on, man? I picked 4th in a 12-team redraft. Who should I go with? I like Bijan right there if he's there. Yeah. Bijan's kind of my guy. So I would take Bijan. I'm fine with Hill or Cup. If McCaffrey falls out, that's fine too. It just kind of depends. Do you want to start your draft with a wide receiver or a running back? What's your favorite draft spot so far? I don't particularly have one. I feel okay drafting from any position, but I would say I still prefer a late first round pick. It's kind of, it's very common to say that, but year to year, I feel like that doesn't change for me because you still get a good value in the first, and then you get that immediate top tier value, someone who could, arguably go in the first round, in the second round. CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Henry and Wilson, Diggs and Brown, Taylor and Olave, like those type of combinations I just really like. But don't get me wrong, there's some other good combos here. Cup and Waddle, C-Mac and Devonta Smith, Chase and Stevenson. So, but generally speaking, I do like drafting at the end of the first. JSC, I understand people want wide receivers early now, but let's just be mindful running backs might be more scarce than ever. That's a fair point, but we're just seeing like year after year when we get towards the end of the season, mid-season, the value at running back on the waiver wire just pops up, and pops up. And I still think there's really good mid-round running back value floating around out there as well. All right, let me see who's available here. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence. I'm glad he fell back to me. I'm sad Rachaad White and Pacheco are gone. Monty's gone. It's like, do I take a chance on Alvin Kamara, or do I reach for a player who I feel is like a little bit safer? Or do I just take a wide receiver? Tough decisions here. I will reach for Antonio Gibson. Taylor, running backs having a group Zoom conference tonight to discuss what they're going to do. Yeah, I did see that. I mean, the headline I saw, I don't know if I would call it a headline, but what I saw was the top running backs NFL are holding a Zoom call tonight. So maybe we'll get some type of update in the next 24 to 48 hours. Maybe we won't. I think you could have a potential situation where you have running backs like Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, even Austin Eckler, guys who have spoken out about the current situation around contracts pertaining to the running back position. You could see running backs like that who have, long-term contracts already that they've been happy with. Maybe Alvin Kamara in that mix as well. I don't know. You could see some of those guys maybe try to take a stand with the running backs who have not gotten those long-term deals like Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, and even Tony Pollard. We'll see. Or who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? We'll just continue to monitor the situation day by day. Would you rather have Ridley as a wide receiver 1 or Gibbs as an RB1? I mean, I'd rather have Gibbs. And it's nothing against Ridley. I would just rather draft Christian Kirk a round or two later. Kirk went at the 4.10 tonight. I'm happy to see that. But it is technically a little bit against his ADP. But once again, I mean, some of these players' ADPs are just moving drastically. And Christian Kirk's going in a lot of mocks a little bit sooner than he has been throughout the offseason. So I might be partly responsible for that. I might not be. But I'd rather just draft if I can get Gibbs in the third and then get Kirk in the fourth, I'd rather do that than go Ridley in the third and then like Aaron Jones in the fourth. But I do like Walker in the fourth, ETN win in the fourth tonight. I like those guys. I don't dislike Jones, but I'd rather have Gibbs at this point in time. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation, Daquan. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, like, you look at players like Isaiah Pacheco, who's drafted so late, and he's basically going to cost the Chiefs nothing. I think that there's potential for the entire, like, contract structure of running backs to potentially change, and or like instead of having like a fourth year option for running backs, maybe you have a third year option. It's just a different contract when players come into the NFL as compared to running backs, or excuse me, as compared to wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends. So I don't know, man. It's just going to be a tough situation, and we're just going to have to continue to monitor it. But I mean, I hope all these guys get paid and all that, but it's I have no idea what's going to happen. All right, mid-8th round we are, and we have a little bit of a run at the running back position. Charbs, Javonte, Brian Robinson, James Cook all off the board. Outside of that, just Quentin Johnston gone. So what am I doing over here? 3 wide receivers, 3 running backs, quarterback. I mean, we're pretty even par across the board here. I still want to continue to build running back and wide receiver depth, undoubtedly. But I feel okay about this team. Gibson as an RB3 is fine, but like I said, I prefer a guy like Rachaad White or Isaiah Pacheco, even Akers, Monty. I didn't expect to be able to get like a Connor, Sanders, or Monty, but they would have been nice. I don't even mind drafting Dalvin Cook as an RB3, even though he's not technically on a team, but I like Zay Flowers here in the 8th as a wide receiver 4 a lot. I think it's a good pick by Katz to be his wide receiver 5, but I like Zay Flowers a lot. And then you've had some good reports coming out about Zay Flowers in the last week. Brian DeBall seems to be, actually not Brian DeBall, Todd Monken, excuse me, seems to be happy with his progress so far. I just think this tier of wide receivers right here, Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, Juju, Gabe Davis, Cortland Sutton, like I just don't love it. I just don't. All right, give me Devontae Shane. Yeah, just a tough pick right here. I'm going to go ahead and grab my tight end. Just give me Freiermuth. I like Evan Ingram here as well, but I don't think Ingram, Freiermuth, or Njoku make it back to me. Schultz and Kmet definitely could, but I'm going to go Freiermuth here, and we're going to move along. See how we wrap it up at wide receiver. Are there certain players you just don't want to rise anymore in ADP? I mean, of course, like any player that you want to draft, you don't want to see them rise in ADP, but I'm just used to it. We start talking about the coming fantasy season like as soon as the Super Bowl ends. So, like every offseason going into every season, there are players that I've been a fan of, the community's been a fan of, other content creators and the fantasy football realm are fans of, and you just watch that ADP rise throughout the offseason. I mean, Christian Kirk was like an 8th, 7th round pick for some reason for like a majority of the offseason, for example, and now he's going in the 4th round. Rachaad White was like an 8th rounder. Now he goes at 6.9 tonight, and honestly, we've seen him go earlier than that. So, it just is what it is. You just kind of have to start making more concise decisions. Maybe you're comparing players who you weren't comparing, a week or two ago or a month or two ago. Trying to think of a good example across the board here, but if you're sitting at, trying trying to find a good example here, but yeah, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, if you're at the 5.1 and like I was tonight, and you prefer Swift over Mixon or Dobbins, and a couple weeks ago Swift was going in the 6th or 7th round, well, now you just have to ask yourself that question, like, which player do I want the most on my roster, right? Sky Moore goes at 9.8 tonight. Okay, that's a player who I've liked drafting much later, but has started to gain more and more kind of hype, so to speak, throughout the offseason, and we've seen his ADP slowly move up. And as of late, a player that a lot of fantasy football managers are discussing, right? So he goes at 9.8 tonight, but we've seen him go all the way in the 12th and 13th round recently. So, Chase going out and having conviction in Sky Moore in his roster tonight, that's just something that we're used to seeing, right? So that might be a good example. Do you rather have Odell Beckham, Michael Thomas, Juju, Gabe Davis, or would you rather reach for Sky Moore and go ahead and snag him up for your team? So, yeah, I mean, like, to answer your question, yeah, of course, there's players who I don't want to see rise in ADP, but you just have to kind of work around it, I mean, I've seen a lot of guys that I really like throughout the offseason rise in ADP. DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, definitely two of the guys that come to mind. I guess Amon-Ra hasn't really moved much. I mean, there have been mock drafts where I've taken Amon-Ra like the 1.8, so considering he went to 2.3 tonight, I wouldn't call that much of a movement. I'm surprised Gibbs isn't going. I really thought the closer and closer we got to August, we'd see Gibbs move up into the second round. And like I said, earlier in the offseason, maybe even the first. So Antonio Gibson's definitely moved up in ADP, but we'll see how everything unfolds. It's always interesting to see what happens come August time. And, we still have mini camp coming up, so like, I hate to say it, but injuries are going to start popping up. Hopefully we don't see a lot of like major injuries, but the potential for that to happen, of course, is there. So, unfortunately. All right, so I feel pretty good about this team. I just have like no wide receiver depth. So, I mean, I have JJ, so like kind of offsets things to a degree, but I was hoping Sky Moore would be available here. Obviously, he's not. So now I'm just stuck in this like tier of wide receivers that I hate. But Cortland Sutton, I still think is a pretty safe pick in full PPR. And by the way, guys, don't forget, we are drafting kickers and defenses tonight. So just keep an eye on your roster. Like, I only have 2 more bench spots, and then a kicker and defense spot. So just keep an eye on that as well. I'll go Jacoby Myers here. I mean, other wide receivers I like in this tier. I mean, you could still take a shot on Jamison Williams, but it wouldn't make sense for this particular team, being that I need immediate flex plays. Rondell Moore is fine. Darnell Mooney's fine. I don't hate Tyler Boyd, but he's just a low. I mean, we're not looking at very high ceiling players here anyways, but yeah, I don't love him right here. So it's just a weird tier. Don't forget to draft your kickers and defenses. Look at your teams, guys. Even if everyone does in the last 2 rounds, I want to see who comes off the board. Matt, I did a mock and Kelsey went 2. So you would go Bijan over Kelsey at 4? Yes, I would personally. I mean, Kelsey's okay there. But generally speaking, I think you'll probably see Kelsey closer to the 1.8, 1.9, even the 1.10, 1.11. I think you have J.J. Chase, C-Mac, Hill, Cup, Bijan, Eckler, probably Lamb, and 1 more wide receiver off the board first. But it just depends on who you're drafting with. Kelsey can go like as early as the 1.5, 1.4. Thomas couldn't decide Pirine or Kamara. I mean, I like Kamara more overall, but I think Pirine's just fine as well. It's kind of like the opposite situation. Like, Pirine probably gives you more immediate value. Kamara down the stretch might give you more value, but we also don't know like if and when Kamara is going to be suspended or not suspended. And then vice versa for Pirine, we don't know if and when Javonte is going to be back in the mix and how that's going to affect Pirine's total touches. So we'll see. Chase, I want a piece of that Mahomes offense. Got a mini Mahomes and Sky Moore stack. Oh, yeah. I didn't even realize you do have Mahomes. I like it. Yeah, I don't mind Sky Moore at 9.8. I really don't. He's probably going to be a player that we're going to see move up a little bit in ADP overall. Taylor says streaming kicker and defense. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's what we encourage year to year. Oh, yeah, there we go. Tucker and Carlson on. And the Cowboys D. Imagine taking a wide receiver 2 as a wide receiver 1. It couldn't be me, and seeing it happen drives me insane. Yeah. I mean, it just depends on the overall build, right? All right. There goes Shaheed, another player who we kind of talk about towards the end of drafts. So, yeah, I mean, Romeo Dobbs, Rashid Shaheed, Rondell Moore. You know, we went Myers and Sutton, Sky Moore, Allen Lazard, Elijah Moore. Those are names here in the late swing of things. Even Juju Smith-Schuster to a degree that I like at the wide receiver position. Still like Donovan Peoples-Jones, Van Jefferson, Isaiah Hodgins. But like we talked about at the beginning of the stream with the Cole Beasley move, now I'm like, I feel weird about this Giants wide receiver room. There's a couple rookies in here. Jaden Reed, Jalen Hyatt, Rashee Rice. You're taking a swing with any of those guys. Marvin Mims. To a degree, if you're in a deeper league, maybe Terrace Marshall. I do think Zay Jones still holds some value. But I'm not as high on him as a late round pick as I was like beginning the offseason. You know, I think Ridley is going to eat too much into his production. I still like Darnell Mooney, so I'll take him here. And I got to go kicker and defense, right? Give me the Jets. Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Ravens, Patriots. Don't forget the Patriots, guys. Defense number 1 last year. I like the Jets. Defense 11 last year. Up and coming. Bills were defense 5. Dolphins were bad. Defense 24. But they're going to be better this year, I think. Ravens were defense 7. Don't forget about the Seahawks. Defense 8 last year. Saints were underwhelming. Defense 15. Packers are defense 10. Washington defense 13. Broncos underwhelming at defense 22. They could be better this year. Jaguars are defense 6. They really had a solid ending to the season. Double digits weeks 14 through 18. They could be on the up and coming. I think the Browns could improve this year. They were defense 17 last year. So there's some quick analysis. Steven will be back this year to run our must-start kickers and must-start defenses for the season as well. I know he's excited to reconnect with you guys and be here for the regular season. So we got to start giving some kicker and defense love in the streams. Chase says, can't forget about Nico Collins. Yeah, I don't have a problem with taking a swing on... sorry, guys. I'm covering the draft board, aren't I? I don't have a problem taking a swing on a Texans wide receiver. I just haven't sold myself on any of them. I think Collins is probably the guy. I haven't sold myself on any Texans wide receivers. But I don't think it's a bad point. Yeah, Thomas, I think Seattle's defense is going to be very good this year. Taylor, I normally draft another quarterback behind Tua, but kicker and defense throwing off my strat. That's right. Trying to mix it up, man. Brandon Ayuk in the 4th round is a little rich for my blood. I still don't understand why people don't like Brandon Ayuk. I mean, it's your wide receiver 15 last year, over 1,000 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns, really solidified himself as the wide receiver 1 within that offense. You know, I mean, Debo is Debo, but, and don't get me wrong, Debo was banged up last year, but he's going to do Deebo Samuel things, you know. Ayuk is going to get those receptions left and right. 114 targets last year, 78 receptions. So getting, you know, wide receiver 15 from last year and at the end of the fourth, you know, if I go Swift there, it's like then Ayuk's in the 5th round. So, but I mean, McLaurin was there as a good value. I still like Hollywood Brown. I still like Pittman, even Godwin. Mike Williams and Jahan Dotson, like I like all those guys, but Ayuk's just my guy. I mean, I think he's the perfect flex player. Which kicker do I want to go? I'm going to go Graham Gano. Almost went Nick Folk. Gano was your kicker 8 last year. I hope is he still on the Giants? Yeah, okay. Gosh, 13th season last year. All right, team reviews it is. I feel like that mock went by super fast. But no, we're about normal time. All right, let me know if you guys want a team review. Let's do it. Boxing Jack is up first at the 1.12. You got Fields at quarterback, Ingram at tight end. Doesn't get much better than that. Fields are great value at the 6.1. I almost took him at the 5.1. Like him a lot there. Ingram is a good value in the 10th round. Yeah. Good kicker, good quarterback, good tight end. I have kickers and defense on my mind. All right, Najee Harris, Etienne Pierce, Roshan Johnson look pretty solid at running back for a redraft format. Diggs and Brown, a great start at wide receiver. Kadarius Toney, Quinn Johnston, Gabe Davis, and Romeo Doubs. Pretty good late round value, guys. You know, I don't love Gabe Davis, but you have enough wide receivers around him that I think it's fine. I love Romeo Doubs in the 12th. He was a guy I was hoping would fall back to me. I almost went Doubs over Myers or Sutton. I really like Romeo Doubs in full PPR right now. I think Johnson could have a big year. Tony's a good upside play. So Chiefs defense, I'm fine with. I mean, they were surprisingly your defense 9 last year and defense 8 the year before. I mean, even 13 and 7 the 2 prior years before that. I mean, they have a lot of down games, but they just always find a way to be relevant. Tyler Bassman will be just fine next year. Signed a big extension, so he's sticking with the Bills. That's good. All right, so we're starting Fields and Ingram, Diggs and Brown, Harris and Etienne, and then we've practiced for one flex spot tonight. So Pierce could be there. Dobbs could be there. Any of your wide receivers could be there. Rosters are going to be looking a little bit better tonight because, like I said, just one flex spot tonight, so you're going to have more depth on your bench. So overall, I think the team looks good, man. All right, Chase at the 1.8. Mahomes, say no more. Kittle and Schultz, good tight end room. I like that you got a second tight end behind Kittle. I mean, I bring it up every year. Brought it up a lot last offseason. He missed the first 2 games of the year. Year before, had that stink in the middle of the season. So, has some injury history, but we know what he's going to do throughout the year. Still finished as your tight end 3 last year. Tight end 4 last year. I mean, his pace at the end of 2021 was just crazy. So, even if he had some down games. And last year was pretty damn solid as well. So, all right, Eckler, Jones, Cook, and Ford. I'm okay with that in redraft. Get 1 handcuff, 3 guys to give you immediate value, even if Cook is still kind of in a committee probably. Adams, Mike Williams, Treylon Burks, Sky Moore, Rashid Shaheed. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with this wide receiver room. Get a lot of upside in Shaheed, Moore, and Burks, and some risk as well. You could even throw Mike Williams in that potential risk boom or bust conversation, but I like this wide receiver room. You got the butt kicker. You know, he missed a lot of time last year, or else he would have had a much better ranking, but he's still tied to the Chiefs. They score a lot of points. Saints defense, hopefully better than they were last year. You know, they were defense 5 in 2021 and then kind of improved in the offseason, then just fell flat. But I think they're fine there. So, and hey, I mean, like, your team's not going to, be completely broken by your kicker or defense. We can always stream throughout the season as well. So we're starting Mahomes and Kittle, Eckler and Jones, Adams and Mike Williams. Then in your flex, like Burks, Cook, Moore, Shaheed, you have plenty of options. Butker and the Saints defense. So team looks good. Daler at the 1.5. We've got Tua time and Dolchich. Like you said, he usually take a second quarterback behind Tua. So you would have had to sacrifice one of your skill position guys if you did so, or a kicker or defense. But honestly, I think Tua's going to be okay. I get the concern, but I think even if you come out of your draft with just Tua, you'll have those first couple of weeks to find some guys on the waiver wire. Dolchich, I'm fine with as a tight end 1. Jacobs, Dobbins, Cook, Kamara, Jamal Williams. Pretty solid running back room. Kupp, Waddle, Allen, Evans, Elijah Moore. I'm okay with that too. Yeah. Good overall team. We're starting Tua and Greggy D. Hopefully Jacobs and Dobbins, but maybe Dobbins and Cook. We don't really know right now. Kupp and Waddle, of course, and probably flexing Keenan Allen, but you got Mike Evans. You've got Alvin Kamara whenever he's around. You've got Elijah Moore and even Jamal Williams. So another good squad. Yeah, like I said, teams are going to look better tonight because we only had one flex, but yeah, another good team, man. Alrighty, Andrea's up next at the 1.9. Hurts at quarterback, say no more. I love Cole Kmet in the 10th round. I think Kmet's going to have a good year. Tied in 7 last year. I think the Bears are going to be better than they were last year. I think Fields will be better at throwing as well. JT Akers, Brian Robinson, David Harris, Devin Singletary. I mean, yeah. For basically going hero running back, I do like this team. Olave, DJ Moore, Pittman, Addison, Collins. I'm okay with the wide receiver room as well. Bills defense, your defense number 5 last year, even though they had some rough weeks in the middle. And then Younghoe Koo, your kicker number 5 last year as well. You had defense 5 and the kicker 5. Both those guys will be fine this year. Bills and Younghoe Koo will be fine this year. All right, so we're starting Hurts and Kmet, JT and Akers, Olave and DJ Moore, then probably flexing Pittman. That leaves Addison, Robinson, Harris, Collins, Singletary on your bench. Yeah. Good bench. Good core roster. Solid team. I'm yet to see anything I dislike. All right, Astros at the 1.4. So we've got Watson at quarterback, Hawkinson at tight end. Completely fine with that. Watson in the 8th round is a good value. He's gonna, the Browns are going to throw the ball a ton more this year. He should be improved. Watson in the 8th, Prescott in the 9th. Both those guys got very solid years. All right, Barkley, Rashad White, Penny, Foreman, Bigsby. I mean, as long as Barkley's out there, you're fine here. Hill, Cooper, London, Deontay, Tyler Boyd. Pat's defense number 1 last year. Don't sleep on them. Defense number 2 the year before. Had a lot of guys sit out 2020. Weren't as good, but defense number 1 2019. Ooh, Jake Moody. Rookie kicker for the Niners. Interesting pick. I like it. All right, so we're starting Watson and T-Hawk. Hopefully Barkley and White. I think, I don't know. Let's just say Barkley's out there. If he's not, then you're rotating Penny and Foreman. Starting Hill and Cooper, you're flexing Drake London. So that leaves Deontay Johnson, who could be a very solid flex play as well. Whatever running back's left over, and Tyler Boyd on the bench with Bigsby. So, Pat's defense, and rookie kicker, kind of risky, but I like it. I do like this starting roster a lot. Watson, T-Hawk, Barkley, White, Hill, Cooper, then flexing London or Johnson is really nice. Biggest question for you is, when is Barkley going to be around? But good team. Cats is at the 1.6 tonight. We've got Herbie fully loaded at quarterback. Good value at the 6.7. And Njoku at the 9.6 is good as well. Bijan, Chubb, Algier, and Mostart. You're kind of light at running back, but you got the handcuff in Algier. Mostart's fine in the 12th. And then, Bijan and Chubb, these guys are going to be your workhorse running backs. As long as they're healthy, you don't really have anything to worry about. Calvin Ridley, Deebo Samuel, Hollywood Brown, JSN, Flowers, and JMO. I like this wide receiver room a lot. A ton of upside here. Ton of upside. You know, I mean, when JMO comes back, you're going to be in a very good position. I mean, JSN should offer a lot of consistency. And I love Zay Flowers. So, I like this wide receiver room a lot, man. Especially for a one flex league. So, you're starting Herbert and Njoku, Bijan and Chubb, Ridley and Debo. Then in your flex, it's going to be Hollywood Brown to start the year. But like I said, JSN, Flowers, and JMO when he's back are all going to get in the mix. So full PPR, very, very solid. Algier and Mostart on the bench for you. That's fine. Lions defense, 28th overall last year. Doesn't feel like they were, but they were bad. You know, they had some streaming capabilities here towards the end of the season, but overall they were still not a good fantasy defense. But they should be improved from last year and hopefully can show some more of those double-digit performances. McManus is on Jacksonville now. Jacksonville's going to score a lot of points. McManus is a pretty good kicker. So I like this move, actually. All right, this is weird. It's showing total rankings instead of kicker rankings for McManus, but he was your kicker 18 last year. Oh, no, it's right here. I'm an idiot. So, I'm a top 20 kicker past couple years. But, yeah, McManus is good. He's on Jacksonville, which is also good for him from a fantasy perspective. All right, good team, Cats. Tommy, what do we got here? We got Burrow, quarterback. I like Burrow at the 5.7. Pretty good value, in my opinion. I almost took him at 5.1. Kelsey, say no more. I don't mind taking Chig in the 12th, but if you have Kelsey, you're probably fine. But it doesn't hurt anything, right? Pollard, Gibbs, Pirine, Mitchell. I'm fine with that. You know, Pollard and Gibbs are going to be your workhorses here. Then Pirine and Mitchell, good bench players for you. D-Hop, Dotson, Pickens, Beckham, Mingo. I mean, not my favorite wide receiver room, but I still like those first three guys, Hopkins, Dotson, and Pickens. You know, not really anyone on the board. I mean, I might go with a different receiver over Hopkins. I feel like I like Drake London and even Kirk and Watson more. Not because I dislike Hopkins, but I mean, we've already talked about this because I'm kind of worried about Tennessee's offense as a whole. But at the same time, D-Hop going to do D-Hop things wherever he is, right? So we're starting Burrow and Kelsey. I mean, your upside with this team lies at tight end with Kelsey. So that's why a wide receiver looks a little bit weaker, right? Pollard and Gibbs, D-Hop and Dotson, a good core roster. And then you've got probably Pickens as your flex, but Pirine could sneak in there, maybe Beckham as well. So, I mean, Mitchell's probably the best handcuff you can have right now. So, Mingo's fine here. Yeah, I mean, I would say with the way this wide receiver room turned out, I prefer receiver over Nkonkwo. It wasn't great options, but Mooney, Tyler Boyd were both there. I'd rather have one of them on this team, just knowing Kelsey's probably going to be fully healthy this year. Usually is. Seahawks defense I love, though. Defense 8 last year. And I think they improved a lot in the draft. I think they're going to be a very good defense this year. And then Myers, kicker 4 last year. I mean, the Seahawks, very solid defensively and in the kicker room when it comes to fantasy last year. So I love both those picks for you, man. Yeah. Most teams look pretty good tonight, guys. Dubby, what do we do? Danny Dimes, solo QB in the 12th. Okay. I can live with it, I guess. I will say, when it comes to Daniel Jones, if Saquon's not out there, I'm much more concerned about Danny Dimes. Because a lot of what he was able to do successfully last year was because Saquon was successful in this offense as well. I think Jones will be fine, but I like him less if Saquon's not out there. My only note. Andrews and Waller, great tight end room, say no more. Ramondre, Mixon, Pacheco, Kendre Miller. I'm fine with your running back room. I am a little bit more queasy about Ramondre, who was really, really starting to like. He's going to lead the Patriots backfield. Don't get me wrong, but like they're the betting favorites to land Dalvin Cook. They've worked out all these different running backs, including like Leonard Fournette. I just don't understand Bill Belichick and why he can't just give us a year with a stud running back in fantasy. I get they don't have great depth with Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris, but like, just let it be, Bill, if you're out there listening. All right, Chase, Watson, Lockett, Cooks, Bateman. Pretty good wide receiver room. I like your first three guys a lot. Bateman's fine in the 10th. Obviously, the big question for Bateman this year is he going to stay healthy or not? I'm not really sold on Cooks, but he is the wide receiver 2 in this offense, so I get why you guys like him. I guess Gallup could be, but either way. I kind of like Elijah Moore, Sky Moore. No pun intended, more than Cooks, but Cooks is fine there, I guess. So we're starting Jones and Andrews, Chase and Watson, Ramondre and Mixon, Ramondre and Pacheco, however you want to swing it. Did I say Chase and Watson? You're starting those guys and you're flexing Lockett or one of those two running backs. Or even Waller if you want to get crazy. So, yeah, I'm good at this. Eagles defense 4 last year. Obviously very solid. Super Bowl run, all that good stuff. They're going to be fine this year. Sanders, kicker 16 last year. Was pretty solid throughout the year. And Miami's going to score a lot of points, so that's fine. But don't forget, sometimes in fantasy, when it comes to kickers, teams that score less points actually have better performing kickers because they're kicking field goals over extra points, which equate to more fantasy points. All right, let's see here. Sorry, lost my spot. Okay, Boss Man at the 110. What do we do tonight? Josh Allen. He's good at football. Goddard. I love Goddard in the 7th. Great value there. Walker. I think Walker's going to be fine. I love him at 4.3. Sanders. Good in the 5th. Javonte McKinnon. Pretty good running back room, man. Lamb and St. Brown. Love that start for you. Godwin. Great in the 6th. I'm not a Michael Thomas guy. But sure, in the 9th, I guess. Rondo Moore I like in the 11th. Don't like him much earlier than that, but he's fine there. Thielen, sure. I get why people like Thielen, so whatever. I don't love him, but it's fine too. Danny Carlson, man, the myth, the legend, kicker number 1. The last 2 years in fantasy. Good example of what we were just talking about. The Raiders' offense not perfect. He gets more attempts at kicking field goals. Jags defense I like here. Defense 6th last year. Tons of success at the end of the season. Got hot at the right time. So yeah, pretty good squad here. Starting Allen and Goddard, Walker and Sanders, Lamb and St. Brown. Probably flexing Godwin. Great starting lineup. Javonte, Mike Thomas, McKinnon, Moore, Thielen on the bench. You got a stud kicker and a defense I think is going to be good. I like this team. Team of the night's going to be really hard to choose because I feel like I liked every team we went over. Matt, I personally think Kamara should have harsh punishment in the NFL since most NFL players get away with breaking the law. Yeah, he probably won't, but it just is what it is, All right, let me get caught up here. Brian, I like Cowboys defense with Diggs and Parsons, but they'll be expensive. Yeah, he took them at the 11.11 first defense off the board. They're going to be good again. They were a steal last year. I was begging people to draft them because they were a great value. And you just look at the NFC East, like outside of the Eagles and the Cowboys, and the Giants were improved last year, so I guess that methodology won't hold over. But that was my thing last year. They're playing Washington and the Giants twice a year. They were the defense won the year before. Go out and get them. Yeah, he went all in. He got Tucker as well. So kicker and defense too last year. Cowboys and Tucker. What else did you do? Lamar at quarterback, Higbee and Gesicki. Henry, Connor, Monty, Dillon, Charbs, Wilson, Judy, Juju, Lazard. So kind of a late tight end build. I prefer 5 wide receivers at worst. Be my only note here. But we're starting Lamar and Higbee. I don't love Gesicki here. With Henry already in the mix, who knows what we're going to get out of Gesicki. I would take any wide receiver that you like right there. Maybe even a Giants wide receiver, right? All right, so Lamar, Higbee, Henry, Connor, Wilson, Judy. I mean, in a one flex, I guess you can go for the running back depth over wide receiver. I guess that's fair. But yeah, you can flex Monty, Dillon, Charbs, Juju, Lazard. Any of those guys could, be the best option. I might go with Monty, though. So team looks okay. Yeah. One flex just changes everything. Brian, Jets defense great as well. Yeah, I think they'll be pretty darn good this year. Cats, I expect Lions defense to get a good amount of takeaways because Lions offense will put pressure on other teams to play aggressive. At least that's what I told myself being a Lions fan. That's fair. Thomas almost went Watson over Hopkins, but I draft Watson too much. That's fair. Switch it up. Chick, just in case Kelsey gets hurt, he is getting older. Plus, I didn't like any of the wide receivers where I took Chick. That's what I figured. I mean, that's fine, too. That's fine. Taylor, I thought Pierce Strong looked pretty good last year. I know, right? Giants struggled big time against Dallas and Philly 0-4. That's a good point. That's a good point. But, yeah. I still like the Cowboys defense this year. All right, let's roast my team. What did I do tonight? I feel like I've had some weird drafts lately, man. Okay, doke. 1.1. Love T-Law in the 6th. Fine with Freiermuth in the 9th. If I had waited on tight end, I would have not got Kincaid or Ingram. Obviously, would have not got Freiermuth or Njoku. I'm okay with Dolchich there, but I'm glad I went Freiermuth. Hall, Swift, Gibson, A-Chain. I've got a very risky running back room, but all upside here. I'm okay with this in redraft in a one flex format. But there is risk with this running back room, don't get me wrong. J.J. Higgins, Ayuk. I love the start, but then I kind of had to filter down to a pretty low tier wide receivers. Because I wanted to get my quarterback and tight end earlier. If I hadn't done that, I'd have a Lockett on this team. Maybe a Sky Moore or Elijah Moore as well, depending on when I went quarterback and tight end. So, but Sutton, Myers, Mooney, I'm okay with late. But some of those names that I've been liking to take, Sky Moore, Rashid Shaheed, were just, seeing going earlier. I like Romeo Dobbs a lot there as well. But I'm okay. I mean, Sutton, not a high ceiling, should be a safe floor. Gave us double digits last year. Every game he played in except for 4. Like I said, the ceiling's not very high, but fine for a potential flex and full PPR. Myers, at least 800 receiving yards the last 2 years. Had 6 touchdowns last year. He's going to be the number 2 option on the Raiders, unless... I don't think Renfro's going to beat him out, but it's going to depend on Jimmy G. Mooney will be the number 2 wide receiver on the Bears, so that's kind of what we're going for with these later picks. Full PPR, wide receiver 2s can still produce. Mooney was starting to get on track before he got hurt, so I'll take a chance on him. This is a big year for Mooney, man. So. Jets defense going to be improved next year. Top 11 defense 11 last year. They had some bad games too, don't get me wrong. They looked really solid at times. But I like them. They're kind of like an upside pick. I probably prefer the Ravens, Eagles, or Patriots there, and even the Seahawks or the Bills. But for fun, I went the Jets, especially since we have Garrett Wilson on the thumbnail and everything. Got some Jets hype today. So, Graham Gano, final pick of the draft. Your kicker 8 last year. The Giants are kind of a good defense for kickers because they don't put up the most points, but they don't put up it's not so bad that kickers aren't getting extra points and, field goal attempts. So, Gano was very solid last year. I do remember starting him in week 11 when he had -2 points, though. So, that was not good. But overall, had a good year. So, I'd be starting T-Law and Freiermuth. Hall and Swift, JJ and Higgins, flexing Ayuk. I like that. Gibson, A-Chain on the bench. Sutton, Myers, Mooney on the bench. Starting the Jets defense and Gano. But decent enough team. Why not? One flex helped me out. Draft of the night is tough. I liked everyone's teams. You know, Cats, I did really like your team. It's kind of funny that you asked, because I did actually really like your team. Draft of the night is hard. I really like just about every team we went over. I also really like Box and the Jacks team. And I do think he got the best value at quarterback and tight end with Fields at 6.1 and Ingram at 10.1. Fields, Ingram, Harris, Etienne, Diggs, Brown. And then like a couple different flex options. Pierce, Tony, Johnson, Davis, Dobbs. Roschon Johnson there as well. I really like that team. But the flex still semi up in the air unless you're just rolling with Pierce, who I think has a low ceiling. I like Chase Brown's team a lot too in terms of value throughout the draft. Mahomes, Kittle, Eckler, Jones, Adams, Williams, and then the flex, Burks, Cook, Moore, Shaheed. I like that squad a lot. And I do like Cat's team. It's tough tonight, man. I like Taylor's team a lot too. I mean, we just had a lot of good teams. That one flex build really helped a lot of you guys out tonight. And I mean, like Tommy had a really good core roster. Like everyone's core roster, J-Dub's core roster, Andrea's. You know, it just kind of comes down to the flex and the bench spots. It's a lot of good drafting tonight, to be honest. So I don't know if that answered the question, but that's my answer. Well, I don't know if it's great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll about do it for the night. It's midnight. And I think we're going to wrap it up. So, hit the like button on the way out. I should be back on tomorrow, probably just for another mock. It's mock draft season. Maybe we'll switch up the format to 2 flexes with the kicker and defense. Just kind of keep it fresh. We'll see what happens. If you guys are new to the channel and you're here tonight, thank you for being here. Subscribe. Check out our links down below. Follow us on Instagram. Join our Discord. And that should do it. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for drafting with me. You guys know who you are. Andrea, Katz, Taylor, J-Dubs, Brian, Tommy, Astra, Matt, Bossman, Boxing the Jack, JSC, Chase, Daquan, Albert, Capital A, and everyone else who stopped by, everyone else who hung out. Thank you guys for being here, man. Love you guys, man. Love this community. Love the Catch fam. I'll talk to you guys soon. With that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch. And